Hi there everybody, I've gotta say, indie RPGs have really been stepping up their game these last couple of years. I do remember when they first started, they really weren't anything to take note of. They were pretty much just bare bones, basic SNES RPGs and just time wastes essentially. But in the past couple of years, the indie scene has really taken off. First with Chained Echoes and then with Sea of Stars, both of which were inspired by really popular turn-based classics. But now, we have Secrets of GRINDEA, which was inspired by the action RPGs back on the SNES. And hey y'all, if you are new to the channel, please be sure to subscribe for some more top 10s, news, and reviews, and then smash that like button to show your love before we now get in to Secrets of GRINDEA and I tell you all about this fantastic indie RPG. Well, it might just be very simple to say something like, oh, this is just one of those Secret of Mana inspired games. There's actually a lot more to it, as it's really like a conglomeration of Earthbound, Mana, Terra Enigma, and even The Legend of Zelda. Here you're going to be finding absolutely gorgeous, breathtaking backgrounds, whimsical areas, fast-paced combat, and tons of different weapons, as well as humorous dialogue, lovable characters, and those brain-bending puzzles, not to mention copious amounts of challenge. And while the aforementioned RPGs were all great in their own right, Secrets of GRINDEA takes everything that made them all special and then kind of combines them into one sort of masterpiece type of game. And it should be. I mean, it took the developers 13 years to finish this game. You're going to find a complex equipment system, hidden areas, fast travel, challenging combat, and a really involved and intricate skill tree system. But let me go ahead and start from the beginning. Right from the get-go, you get to customize your character. So I made a cute little blonde twink, gave him a jaunty pink scarf and some flamboyant clothing, and I was on my way. You begin in a small mountain village descended from a long line of collectors. And today is presumably your 16th birthday or some such nonsense, so you're sent down the mountain to the big city to become a collector yourself. But what is it that you're actually collecting, that you might ask? Answer: sentient artifacts who want to rule over mankind. Yeah, you heard me. Immortal, crusty-ass artifacts who hate humanity and want to rule over you. Those are the villains here. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but that's also kind of the charm of these classic RPGs, so I'm okay with it. Not only is the story just a tad bit ridiculous, but so are all the characters. Everybody's just delightfully quirky in their own way. From the snotty, bitchy nobles running around town, to the crazy inventors, to the evil leaders, and the inept fairies. Not to mention your little helper, your very own sentient artifact, who is the most sarcastic item bag I have ever encountered. The Adventures is going to send you all off to the far-flung corners of GRINDEA. You'll be climbing mountains, delving deep into haunted forests, meeting witches, exploring caves as well as futuristic flying ruins, visiting big cities, scouring grassy plains and running for your life in a desert, before hitting snowy areas and even Santa's workshop, just to name a few. I guess the developers really did take that old saying, variety is the spice of life, to heart. In order to make it through all these danger-filled areas, you're going to have 3 different weapon types. Your teeny tiny short sword that swings really fast and has medium power, but whenever I say teeny tiny, I'm talking about that toothpick that the guy in Lagoon used back on the SNES. Next, there's the great sword, which is much slower, but it's also much more powerful, and it also swings in a much wider area, so it has a pretty decent range. And then there's my personal favorite, the magic wands, which raise your magical attack power and fire off long-range beams. But here's the kicker. All weapons behave differently. They all look different, and there's even small changes, like different wands firing off different types of beams, from a concentrated small beam to a big ripple, and each of the weapons has their own special abilities too. And I know that this is important to a lot of people. You can actually see the changes on your character's sprite whenever you equip different weapons and armor. Just as you can customize your fighting style through your weaponry, you can do the same through your talent and skill trees. Each time that you level up, you'll gain silver and gold skill points as well as talent points. The skill points can be used for melee attacking skills for your swords, such as a circular sword swing, as well as both offensive and defensive magical spells. The talent points, on the other hand, can be used for more permanent stat gains. Now, this is an incredibly involved and intricate skill system. You can spend hours in the menu really customize your characters to your heart's content. And even better, if you don't like how you built up your character, you can always refund the points and it just costs a little bit of money. Also in the menu, you'll find a quest tracker, not only for the main quests, but for all the side quests that you'll be receiving. And if you would like, you can display that on the screen for easy access. Fast travel is also accessed in the menu, as are all your items and crafting. It's all there at your fingertips. And while it's easy to compare the Mana series to this because of the environments and the combat, in many ways it's a lot more similar to like The Legend of Zelda or even Lufia 2 because, my god, there are some brain-bending puzzles here. You can really tell the development team spent a whole lot of time on this aspect, because this isn't just like push a block from point A to point B, you've really got to stop and think about a lot of these. Thankfully though, there is a reset switch that you can kind of use to like rewind a puzzle if you make a mistake. And then as you progress further into the game, the puzzles get even more complex, with the added ability where you're able to change the seasons at will, just like another Legend of Zelda game that I happen to adore. Now, my comparison to the older, retro JRPGs ends here, because now I'm going to start comparing this game to a newer RPG series, the Dark Souls series. And that's because, like, damn girl, this is hard! From the get-go, you have a choice between normal and hard difficulty, and I just cannot imagine playing this on hard, because I died all the time during these boss fights on normal. Thankfully though, whenever you do die, there's not really any sort of like penalty, you're just sent back to the beginning of the area. You'll find that enemies respawn quite a bit, which is great if you want to grind, but at the same time, you need to keep moving in order to survive, so running and gunning is the name of the game here. But that is nothing compared to the boss fights. Those are downright ass-clenchingly stressful, especially whenever they get into pissy boss mode and like the bullet hell thing begins. That being said, I never did find it to be like out and out unfair, but it is certainly on the hard side, and it was totally satisfying to finally beat these bosses. However, it would be really nice to have an option for an easy mode. I do think that it would help with accessibility if that was added. Not necessarily for like the regular combat, but for those boss fights, most definitely. Because they are multi-stage, puzzle-type affairs for the most part, and it's so frustrating to spend like 10 or 15 minutes on a boss, solving about 2/3 of its forms, only to then die and have to start over at the very first stage of the boss. I think that like a nice quality of life feature would at least have the easy mode start you over at the last stage of the boss that you were at. I've got to say, whenever I first heard this title, I thought that it was like some sort of joke, and I also thought that it was going to be some sort of cheap RPG Maker game that I see constantly over on Steam. But after watching the trailer, I was pleasantly surprised by it, and I just had to try it out, and I am so glad that I did. Because I'm telling you, we are looking at the next Chained Echoes and the next Sea of Stars right here. This is up there in that trifecta of indie RPG masterpieces, and I really do think that you should go onto the Steam and try out the demo at least for yourself. So that's it for my review of Secrets of GRINDEA. What do you think about it? Let's get a discussion going on here and let's all talk and chat about it. And if you like what I do here on the channel, please head on over to the Patreon to sign up for early access to my videos, as well as behind the scenes photographs. The link to it is over in the video description. And as always, please like, comment, and subscribe, and have a good day.